You feel stuck, don't you? Like there's something inside of you screaming for more, but no matter what you do, it feels like you're running in place. And that frustration, that's not because you're broken. It's because there's a part of you that knows you're meant for more, but you keep getting in your own way. The first reason, you don't have clarity. If I ask you right now, what do you want? Could you answer me in a single sentence? Most people can't. They're vague. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. That's not a vision. That's a wish. Until you define what success looks like to you, you're chasing a ghost. Get clear. Know exactly what you want and why you want it. And then there's fear. Fear of failing, fear of looking stupid, fear of what people will think. You know what's worse than failure? Regret. Failing is painful, but regret that eats away at you. It's time to stop letting fear make your decisions. You failed before and survived. You'll fail again and survive. But if you never try, you'll never truly live. Your own mind can be the most dangerous place in the world. That voice inside your head, it's been programmed by years of doubt, by what society has told you, by what people have said about you. And if you don't take control of it, it will control you. You have to rewire that voice. Train your mind to work for you, not against you, because the thoughts you repeat become the reality you live. But thinking alone won't change your life. Some of you have been planning and preparing for years, waiting for the perfect moment. Guess what? That moment isn't coming. Stop waiting and start doing. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs. You don't need the perfect plan, you just need to move. And maybe you're holding on to the past, the pain, the failure, the things that didn't work out. You replay those moments like they define you. But let me tell you something. Your past is a place of reference, not residence. The only thing keeping you trapped there is you. If you want to move forward, you have to let go. The real fuel behind everything, your purpose. If you don't have a deep burning reason why you must succeed, you'll never push through when things get hard. You need to connect with something bigger than yourself, something that makes quitting not an option. Because when your purpose is strong enough, nothing can stop you. You ever feel like you're pushing forward but not really going anywhere? Like you're doing things, working, thinking, trying, but somehow you're still stuck. It's not because you're not capable. It's not because you're not smart enough, strong enough, or driven enough. It's because you don't have absolute clarity on where you're going. And if you don't know exactly where you want to go, how can you ever expect to get there? Most people live their entire lives in a fog. They wake up, go through their routines, do what they're supposed to do, and wonder why they don't feel alive. They say they want success, they want happiness, they want fulfillment, but if I ask them, what does that look like for you specifically, they wouldn't have an answer because they've never actually taken the time to define it. And if you don't define it, you can't create it. Think about it. When you get in a car, you don't just start driving aimlessly, hoping you'll magically end up somewhere great. You put a destination into the GPS, you know where you're going. And because of that, even if you hit traffic, even if you take a wrong turn, you can always reroute and get back on track. But if you don't know where you're going, every little obstacle, every setback, every distraction will knock you off course, and you won't even realize it. That's why so many people feel lost, because they are. Not because they aren't capable, but because they haven't picked a destination. And let's be real, some of you are afraid to pick one. Because once you do, it means you have to commit. It means you can't just sit back and blame your circumstances, your past, or the people around you. It means you have to take full responsibility for going after it. That's scary for a lot of people because if they never fully commit, they never have to face the fear of failure. But let me tell you something. Not deciding is a decision. If you don't choose where you're going, life will choose for you. And most of the time, it'll take you somewhere you never wanted to be. Some of you have a vague idea of what you want, but vague goals create vague results. If your goal is to be successful, what does that actually mean? How will you know when you've made it? If your goal is to be happy, what does happiness look like for you? If you don't define it, how will you ever experience it? The brain doesn't work on generalities, it works on specifics. When you get crystal clear about what you want, your mind will start filtering everything in your life through that lens. You'll start noticing opportunities, ideas, and resources that were always there, but you couldn't see them before because you weren't focused. You ever notice that when you get a new car, suddenly you see that car everywhere? It's not because there are more of them. It's because now your brain is wired to notice them. That's how your mind works. If you program it with absolute clarity about what you want, it will start filtering your entire reality to move you in that direction. But if you don't, it'll stay on autopilot, running the same patterns, the same routines, the same limitations you've been stuck in for years. You need to get obsessive about clarity, not just about what you want, but why you want it. Because without a strong enough reason, you'll never follow through. The moment things get tough, the moment it requires real sacrifice, you'll fall back into old habits. But when you have a vision so clear and a reason so powerful that not going after it feels like suffocating, that's when everything changes. That's when you wake up with energy, when you push through obstacles, when you stop making excuses and start making progress. Clarity creates certainty, and certainty creates power. When you know exactly what you want and why you want it, you stop hesitating. You stop second guessing. You stop waiting for permission. You move with confidence. And when you do that, when you take full ownership of your vision, everything in your life starts to shift. So the question isn't whether you're capable. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is, have you made the decision? Because once you do, once you commit with absolute clarity, nothing can stop you. You know what keeps most people stuck? It's not their circumstances. It's not their lack of talent, time, or resources. It's fear. Fear of failing. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of trying and not getting the result. And that fear, that's the invisible cage most people live in their entire lives. They want more, they dream about more, but every time they get close to stepping up, they hear that voice in their head whispering, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if people judge you and instead of pushing forward, they shrink back? But let's get real. What's the worst thing that could actually happen? You try and it doesn't work. You make a mistake, you fall flat on your face. Guess what? That's not failure. That's learning, that's growing, that's progress. But when you let fear stop you from trying at all, that's the only real failure. Because you didn't just lose the opportunity, you lost time, you lost momentum, you lost belief in yourself. And that's what keeps people stuck, not the failure itself, but the fact that they never even gave themselves a chance. Think about when you were a kid. When you were first learning to walk, did you fall? Of course. Did you stop and say, well, I guess walking isn't for me? No, you just kept getting up over and over until one day you were running. But as we get older, we start to attach meaning to failure. We start telling ourselves stories like, if I fail, it means I'm not good enough. If I fail, people will judge me. If I fail, I'll never recover. And those stories, they become chains. They become the walls of the prison that keeps you small. But here's the truth. Failure isn't the enemy. Fear is. The people who succeed at the highest level aren't the ones who never, they're the ones who fail over and over again, but they refuse to let it stop them. They don't see failure as proof that they're not good enough. They see it as feedback, as a stepping stone, as part of the process. Every great entrepreneur, every world-class athlete, every leader you admire, every single one of them has failed more times than most people have even tried, but they don't let it define them. They use it, they learn from it, they get better because of it. You want to know the real reason you're afraid of failing? It's not because of failure itself. It's because of what you think it means about you. You think if you fail, it proves something, that you're not smart enough, not strong enough, not capable enough. But failure is not who you are. It's just something that happens. And if you're willing to look at it the right way, it can become your greatest teacher. The only way to guarantee failure is to never take the risk in the first place. If you never start that business, if you never apply for that dream job, if you never put yourself out there, you might think you're staying safe, but what you're really doing is settling. You're choosing comfort over growth. And let's be honest, how's that working out for you? Because if you were truly happy playing it safe, you wouldn't be here right now searching for more. Something inside you knows you're meant for more, but you have to be willing to take the leap. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. It's feeling that fear rise up inside you and saying, I hear you, but you don't control me. It's looking at the unknown and stepping forward anyway. And the second you do that, something incredible happens. Fear loses its power because you realize it was never as big as you made it out to be. So here's the truth. You will fail, you will stumble, you will make mistakes. But every time you do, you'll get back up, you'll learn, you'll grow, and eventually you'll look back and realize that every single failure was just another step toward your success. The only way you truly lose is if you let fear stop you from ever starting. So the question is, are you going to let fear control your life, or are you going to take the risk and see just how powerful you really are? The most powerful force shaping your life isn't your circumstances, your past, or even your abilities. It's the conversation happening inside your own head. That voice, the one that tells you what you can and can't do, what you're worthy of, what's possible for you, that voice is either your greatest weapon or your deadliest enemy. And for most people, it's the enemy. Because instead of lifting them up, it tears them down. Instead of pushing them forward, it holds them back. Instead of telling them they can, it whispers over and over again, you can't. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That little voice that creeps in when you're about to step up, when you're about to take a risk, when you're about to do something that actually matters, it reminds you of every mistake you've ever made. It tells you you're not ready. It convinces you that you'll never be good enough. And the worst part, you believe it. Because that voice has been playing on a loop for so long, it feels like the truth. But let me tell you something, it's not the truth. It's just a habit, a pattern, a story you've been telling yourself for years. And if you don't take control of it, it will run your life. Because your thoughts create your emotions shape your decisions, and your decisions determine your results. So if you let that voice fill your mind with doubt, fear, and negativity, guess what? That's exactly what your life will reflect. You ever notice how when you expect things to go wrong, they usually do? That's not a coincidence. That's your mind shaping your reality. The way you talk to yourself programs how you show up in the world. If you tell yourself you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not lucky enough, you'll never take the actions necessary to prove yourself wrong. But when you flip that script, and when you start telling yourself a new story, everything changes. Think about the most confident, successful people you've ever met. Do you think they're just lucky? Do you think they never had doubts? No. The difference is they've trained their minds to work for them, not against them. They don't let negative self-talk control them. They interrupt it. They replace it with something stronger, something empowering, something that moves them forward instead of holding them back. And that's exactly what you need to do. You need to take control of that voice and rewrite the script. When it tells you you're not good enough, you shut it down. You remind yourself of everything you've overcome. When it tells you you'll fail, you remind yourself that failure is just a step towards success. When it tells you you're not worthy, you say, watch me. Because here's the truth. The way you talk to yourself is the single most important factor in your success. Not your talent, not your background, not your resources, your mindset. And if you want to change your life, you have to start by changing the way you think. So the next time that voice of doubt creeps in, don't let it win. Don't accept it as truth. Stand up to it. Replace it with something that empowers you. Because once you master your mind, you master your life. You know what kills more dreams than failure ever could? Inaction. Overthinking, waiting for the perfect moment. People sit around planning, analyzing, waiting for everything to line up just right before they make a move. And you know what happens? Nothing. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, months into years, and they're still in the same place, still talking about what they could do, should do, want to do, yet never actually doing it. And it's not because they don't have what it takes. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they're trapped in a cycle of hesitation. They tell themselves they need more time, more knowledge, more confidence, more money, more support. But deep down, it's not about any of that. The real reason people don't take action is fear. Fear of failing, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of looking foolish, fear of stepping into the unknown. But here's the truth. Action is the cure for fear. The second you move, the second you take a step, no matter how small, you take back control. Because fear thrives in hesitation. It grows in inaction. The longer you wait, the bigger it feels, the more power it has over you. But the moment you take action, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, you break its grip. You prove to yourself that you're not paralyzed, that you're not stuck, that you are the one in control. Think about a time in your life when you finally made a decision and followed through. Maybe it was something big, maybe it was something small, but the moment you took action, everything changed, didn't it? You stopped feeling powerless. You stopped doubting, because action creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. And confidence, that's where real transformation begins. People think they need confidence before they take action. That's a lie. Confidence doesn't come first. It's built through action. You don't wake up one day feeling ready. You become ready by doing. You weren't confident the first time you rode a bike, the first time you spoke in public, the first time you tried anything new, but you did it anyway, and over time you got better. You didn't wait to feel confident. You acted your way into it. And that's exactly what you need to do now. Stop waiting for the perfect time Doesn't exist. Stop waiting for permission. No one's going to give it to you. Stop waiting until you feel ready. You won't. You just have to start. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Start messy, because imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. Some of you are drowning in information but starving for execution. You read the books, watch the videos, attend the seminars, but none of it matters if you don't apply it. Knowledge without action is just another form of procrastination. The only way to change your life is to take what you've learned and use it. Every successful person you admire, every leader, every game changer, they're not special. They don't have some secret advantage. The difference is they act. They feel fear just like you. They have doubts just like you. They don't always know what they're doing, but they don't let that stop them. They move forward anyway. They figure it out as they go. They build the plane while flying it. And because of that, they get results while everyone else is still thinking about it. So what's stopping you? What are you waiting for? There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when everything is lined up just right. The only moment you have is now. And the only way forward is to take action, bold, decisive, messy action. Because once you start moving, you'll realize that everything you've been waiting for has been waiting for you to begin. Look around at your life right now. Everything you have, everything you don't, every success, every struggle, it's all a direct reflection of your standards. Not your wishes, not your goals, your standards. Because at the end of the day, you don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. Think about it. If you're in great shape, it's because being fit isn't just a goal, it's your standard. You won't accept anything less. If you have a thriving business or career, it's because you refuse to settle for mediocrity. If you have deep, meaningful relationships, it's because you demand more from the people in your life and from yourself. The flip side is just as true. If you're constantly struggling financially, it's because on some level you've accepted that as normal. If you're stuck in toxic relationships, it's because you've allowed that into your life. If you're not where you want to be, it's because you've been tolerating something less than what you're truly capable of. And that's a hard pill for some people to swallow, because it means taking full responsibility. It means no more excuses, no more blaming the economy, your upbringing, the people around you. Because the second you realize that your standards are shaping your reality, you also realize that you have the power to change them. Look at the most successful, fulfilled people in the world. They don't just hope things work out. They don't just try their best. They have a line in the sand, a level they refuse to dip below. They don't tolerate laziness in themselves. They don't accept negativity in their environment. They don't allow themselves to settle, because they know that the moment they do, they start conditioning themselves to accept less. And once you lower your standards in one area, it bleeds into everything else. You ever notice how when you let yourself slide in one part of life, it affects everything? Maybe you tell yourself, I'll skip the gym today, just this once. Then the next day it's easier to make the same excuse. Maybe you let someone disrespect you, and instead of standing your ground, you brush it off. Before you know it, you're allowing more and more of that behavior into your life. That's how it happens, little by little, moment by moment. You don't wake up one day and find yourself stuck. It's a gradual decline caused by what you tolerate. But the good news, it works the other way too. The moment you raise your standards, everything starts to shift. When you decide that mediocre effort is no longer acceptable, you start pushing harder. When you decide that negative, toxic people are no longer welcome in your life, you create space for real, meaningful connections. When you decide that you deserve more, not just wish for it, but truly decide, your actions, your energy, your focus all align with that new standard. So ask yourself, what have you been tolerating? What have you allowed into your life that is keeping you stuck? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Because the second you raise your standards, your life will rise to meet them. Every single one of us has a vision, an idea of the life we want, the person we want to become, the things we want to achieve. But for so many people, that vision never becomes a reality. Not because they aren't capable, not because they don't have the resources, but because deep down, they don't truly believe they deserve it. They say they want success, happiness, love, financial freedom, but in the back of their mind, there's that little voice whispering, who are you to have that? And that voice, that belief, it controls everything. Because here's the truth, you will never outperform your own identity. You will never create a life that is bigger than what you believe you're worthy of. You can try, you can work, you can push, But if deep down you see yourself as someone who is average, someone who struggles, someone who never quite makes it, then that's exactly the life you will create. Not because you're incapable, but because your mind will always find a way to bring you back to what feels familiar. That's why some people start making progress, start getting results, and then sabotage themselves. They start a business, and just as it's taking off, they procrastinate, make bad decisions, lose focus. They get into an amazing relationship, and suddenly they start picking fights, pushing the other person away. They make a commitment to change their health, and the moment they see progress, they fall back into old habits. And they don't even realize they're doing it. They think it's bad luck, outside circumstances, other people. But what's really happening is that they're hitting the edge of what they believe they deserve. Because the mind has one job: to keep you safe. And safe doesn't mean happy. Safe means familiar. It means predictable. It means staying in the patterns you've been in for years, even if they're destroying you. Because at least those patterns are known. The unknown, that's terrifying. That's why people stay in bad relationships. That's why people stay in jobs they hate. That's why people settle for a life that is so much smaller than what they're capable of. Because as much as they say they want more, deep down, their identity is still tied to the version of them that struggles, that settles, that just gets by. But the second you shift your identity, everything changes. Because when you truly see yourself as someone who is unstoppable, someone who succeeds, someone who follows through, someone who creates their own destiny, then your actions, your habits, your decisions, all of it begins to align with that. You no longer sabotage yourself because success is no longer unfamiliar. You no longer tolerate mediocrity because it no longer fits who you are. You no longer let fear stop you because you don't see yourself as someone who hesitates. You see yourself as someone who moves. So how do you change it? How do you rewire the way you see yourself? It starts with one simple thing: proof. You have to start collecting proof that you are the kind of person who does what it takes. That proof doesn't come from thinking about it. It doesn't come from wishing. It comes from action. Every time you push through resistance, every time you do something hard, every time you follow through on a commitment, you're casting a vote for a new identity. You're proving to yourself, this is who I am now. And it doesn't have to be big. It starts with small wins. You commit to waking up earlier and you actually do it. You say you're going to the gym and you show up. You say you're going to finish a project and you follow through. And with every single win, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through, someone who gets results, someone who doesn't quit. And over time, that belief becomes unshakable. The reason most people never change is because they're waiting to feel different first. They're